This is your Monday Momentum. Extended all week. Morning primer from the Mindset and Motivation Monday on KGCI. Real Estate on Air.
If you're listening to this, there's a good chance you work within the real estate investing industry. There's another good chance that you would like to increase the sales of your products or services. Well, you're in the right place. United States Real Estate Investor is a platform you need to place your brand directly in front of your target audience. With our focused, growing audience of real estate investing beginners, enthusiasts, and seasoned professionals, you can continually reach our captivated viewers and listeners with ease. To learn more or to get started today, just visit UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. That's UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com/advertising. Get ready to increase your brand awareness and your bottom line. Attract clients with content.
Universe. Media. Network.
Welcome to This Month in Real Estate Investing, where we separate the noise from the news. I'm your host, James Brown, and I show people how they can make safe, secure returns through our pre-vetted passive investments. Feel free to download our ebook, The Astute Investor, the top 10 mistakes investors make and how to avoid them, or join our private investor club so you can get exclusive opportunity alerts that we don't advertise those to the general public. Just go to acceleratemycapital.com. In this episode, we'll be breaking down a variety of real estate investing news items, including Trump tariffs threaten housing costs, FSBO sellers face mixed results, and U.S. homes sit longest in 6 years. Don't forget, if you're watching live on YouTube, you could share your thoughts and questions during the show, and we'll get those and we can answer them. So let's start the show. All right, our guests today are, in no particular order, Atticus LeBlanc from PadSplit, Nathan Miller from Rent Tech Direct, and DeMarcus Mabry from Rocket Flipping Academy. In that order, why don't you guys introduce yourselves, tell us about your background in investing, and we'll go from there. So awesome. Atticus.
Thanks, James. Yeah, appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Yeah.
So my name is Atticus LeBlanc. I'm the founder and CEO of PadSplit. I've been a real estate investor for past 20 years, realistically, and entrepreneur pretty much on my own the entire time since. Founded PadSplit 7 years ago, actually 8 years ago now. I'm getting old. We're a two-sided marketplace that provides access to private rooms in shared homes for the 50% of people who can't afford the rent, with fully furnished rooms, all utilities included, Wi-Fi, laundry. We provide access to telemedicine and report income to our rent payments to credit bureaus. And then on the other side of that marketplace, we have hosts who rent those rooms because they can double their income over traditional long-term single-family rentals or multi-family rentals. And we kind of try to handle everything in between.
Nice. Awesome. Nathan.
Yeah, thanks for the invite. Happy to be here. Let's see. My investing experience started about 25 years ago when I bought my first property Been doing it ever since, buying properties, turning them all into rentals. Only in that time sold one property. The rest I've kept. And so, yeah, about 25 years of that. And then 18 years ago, I started Rentec Direct. Kind of found the necessity back then when I was managing these rentals myself. It's hard work to manage rentals yourself. And 18 years ago, the software didn't exist for someone like me with a handful of rentals. So I created Rentec Direct with landlords like myself in mind. We quickly found a need to move into the property management market as well. So today we service about 75% of our customer base is property managers. The other 25% still landlords.
Great. DeMarcus. DeMarcus, can you hear us?
Hey guys, I'm DeMarcus. Thank you for. Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, it was just a little delayed there.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep, go for it.
Okay, great. Thanks for having me, guys. I've been investing in real estate for the last 6 years. I started with wholesale real estate. I grew a company out of that. I'm based in the Atlanta market. I have done deals in several different states, including Kansas City, greater area, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and of course, Georgia. For the last couple of years, I've been coaching investors on how to close their first wholesale deal, how to break through in real estate, to turn wholesaling into an actual business and not just deal for deal. Like I see many wholesalers, what they do, it's deal for deal or transactional, how to turn it into an actual business. So that's what I'm doing now. And Rocket Flipping Academy is the name of my community that I've grown.
Awesome. Glad to have you guys on here. Let's dive into the news from Seattle Times. Spring wakes up the Seattle area housing market. So they had actual double-digit increases, they say, since last year. So it is going crazy over there. Are any of you guys familiar with that market?
Not me.
I'm not either familiar with it, but I mean, it's median home price is $1 million. You're starting to see that more across other, areas, not just the super tech areas like in California and Seattle, but it's just making it really hard for the first-time home buyer. It's really not affordable. And also, I think, that prices are really high, but I think buyers are a little cautious even in markets like that. You even look at San Francisco, Seattle, of course, counties across California. I think buyers are still preparing for like a more balanced market. And, they're sitting in the market a little longer, even at those higher prices. So I think buyers are just not as greedy as they once were a few years ago.
Yeah, I'd say buyers are still adjusting to the current mortgage rates too. Mm-hmm. It's I think we're getting there. People are starting to adjust to it, but 7%, ish, still feels kind of expensive when we were 3% just a few years ago. Yep. So I think that's slowing the market. It's putting buyers a little bit more timid because of that. But like DeMarcus said, prices up there, $1 million for a house. Who can afford that these days? And seeing, I actually just met. It's a startup up in the Seattle area. I think they're called Level Up. And they were doing like the pad split kind of idea, like co-living, but for purchases where you can have, they actually custom build a house where there's 4 separate owners to that house. And there's some common area and then some private area for each of the owners. But it gives people like a condominium sort of atmosphere / co-living atmosphere at a much lower entry price. So I thought that was kind of a cool idea. I would find it hard to co-live with someone if I own something, but I think it's a necessity that's happening in the market these days due to prices.
Yeah, well, necessity. You nailed it. Right?
Yeah, there's a company called Frolic that does something very similar, Nathan. And I mean, I think a lot of these markets are similar. I'm really not familiar with Seattle. One of the reasons why I started Pad Split as a marketplace as opposed to a large fund, which would have been more in my background, was all of these markets just have unique idiosyncrasies, and the the thesis from our perspective is that the people who are closest to those problems and closest to those markets are the best equipped to solve them. And in every market, though, the similarity is you just have these supply constraints, and not sure exactly why we're seeing increased demand in Seattle. But yeah, it's all just a question of that supply demand balance or lack thereof.
Yeah, I would argue it's because they have an amazing football team up there, the Hawks.
I doubt it.
I've actually got a buddy. He moved out there. I think he was there for 2 years or something. He's got a good job out there, like a good job, paying over 6 figures. And he's like, I can't buy a house out here. You have to get married and have a dual income or something to really make that more realistic. I'm sure there's ways around it, but
to Nathan's point, like talking about co-living ownership models, like what we see for co-living is just the reason it's become such a trend. And I think the same reason you're seeing these co-ownership models is because it's a necessity. So if you're making 150 grand and you can't afford a house, but you feel like you're at a stage of life where you want to own something, there really is just no other way to make it happen. And it's going to be both an economic necessity as well as just, the way that people are going to live. And seems like a big sacrifice to those of us who didn't have to go through it. But yeah, I mean, I came up in a different world. I bought my first house when I was 23 with maybe a 580, 600 credit score, 100% financing. And my mortgage payment was $700 a month. So it's just a different world now than what it was. And I think we have to adapt to these new paradigms where costs are just way out of control relative to what we've seen historically.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that, Atticus. My first purchase was $43,000. It was a condominium, and that was affordable to me at the time, just barely. And I'm talking to one of my employees right now who wants to buy his first house. And even, we're in Southern Oregon here, which isn't nearly as high as Seattle, but he's looking at $350,000, $400,000 for a starter home. That's nearly impossible.
Yeah.
Well, to give you guys some millennial background, I bought my first house at 29, which was a few years ago, 32 now, for $380,000. So yeah, I would have loved to, buy my first house for $43,000 or something like that. It's tough, all you can do is, if you're a dual income family, put yourself in the best position to really get ahead of the game, because if you're in the middle, you're just not going to find something that you really, really like. You're either really ahead or you're really behind. So yeah, you have to put yourself in the best position.
Yep. Vegas median price is $485,000. Antonio put in the chat there. Here in Denver, we're around $6,000. So, and we think that's high, but then you look at Seattle, you're like, oh crap.
Yeah. Right.
Never thought about it. Like, my parents bought their house, in the late 60s, $25,000. I never thought $250,000 in my mind was like $250,000 for a house.
Mm-hmm.
Now you can't even get one for that. You got to buy a condo, right? Just crazy. Well, hey, let's jump to the next article from The Street. Trump tariff showdown could have huge impact on housing market.
This might take up the rest of our time, James.
It's real, man. Like it's affecting
real.
everything. So the president of the National Association of Home Builders, Jim Tobin, predicted prices could rise from $9,200 to $25,000 just in this year. So it's a thing.
What is that? 9,200 to 25,000. What is that? What's that from?
That was a prediction from Jim Tobin from the Association of Home Builders.
Okay. All right. Well, I feel like we're in a bit of a unique position right here. I mean, right now today, We're building our own house. We're also building a spec house near us. So we're in the middle of construction of 2 separate properties right now, and we just finished one last year also. And tariffs are a big deal. Everyone's talking about them. You go to the building supply store, they're talking about them because they just don't know what the price is going to be next week. Yeah. But we've ran into some stuff. There's a siding product we wanted to use, which is produced. It's like the concrete fiber siding. It's produced actually right here in Light City in Oregon, but it's painted in Canada, and then it's shipped back down. And so it crosses the border into Canada, and of course they reciprocally dinged us with a tariff, and then it comes back and it gets hit again on these products. So that's one particular building product that it's going to be up to 50% more in cost, and that's kind of unique. Go in both directions, but lumber, all of our lumber comes from Canada right now too, the bulk of it, because it's difficult to cut lumber in the U.S. So that's the core of most houses these days. I think it's going to have a huge impact.
Yeah. I mean, I came back this morning from working on a little homestead farm that we just purchased, and have been exploring, hey, how do we actually mill lumber closer to site? Because we've got a bunch of hardwoods, and there's some local area mills around there. But the reality is, all this is probably going to change on Monday. And if not on Monday, maybe Tuesday. And then it'll change back to something else in a day or two. So, I have no idea. I feel like a ping pong ball at this point. And it's just easier to try to roll with the punches wherever they happen to be. And one of the benefits to being in the affordable housing segment, from my perspective, is whether the market's good or bad, whether building costs are high or low, there's always pretty consistent demand for affordable housing, which is the one thing that allows me some comfort in just putting this concern off to the side. But I don't think there's any doubt that we have more turmoil ahead of us rather than behind us.
Yeah, I think you nailed it. The unpredictability of it is probably the biggest factor. Because you're right. Monday it's going to change, and Tuesday it's going to change, and they might all be gone, in 6 months. We just don't know. Yeah. But that unpredictability, I think, takes builders out of the market, because they're like, if they're going to build a spec house, they're not going to risk going over, what they're going to be able to sell it for. So I think they're just going to sit back and wait it out, which is going to cause fewer houses to be built until this chaos slows down, which is going to put a further strain on the market.
Yeah, it's something we should probably all be investing in, these 3D printed homes. We don't have to rely on lumber. They just go on site, build them, right?
They still have roofs. They still have roots, James.
Right.
That's true.
And they still have copper wire, all sorts of imported goods that go into those as well. So.
Oh yeah,
I'm less convinced, but I think more broadly, to Nathan's point, even if you're 3D building a home, if you don't know what it's going to sell for, you're going to have a really hard time budgeting on the front end.
I think from.
Go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. I think from builders all the way down to just your everyday flippers. I've had several conversations with a lot of the major, I'd say, players in the house flipping space in Atlanta recently. People that are in my buyers list that buy from us wholesale properties frequently. They're like, they don't know what to do. They don't know what to expect. They don't know what type of cost this is going to mean for them in the future. They already have houses sitting on the market that they can't sell, right? So this is a big thing. And I don't know if it's the administration's intent or not, but it's going to force, whether it be builders or just flippers, to look domestically, just with the supply chain vulnerability, if you want to call it, or just uncertainty. Why not look locally? It's not going to be cheap and it's not going to be easy, but you might have to start considering something local. I don't know at what scale, depending on what you're doing, but if the vulnerability, I guess, continues, then it's gonna, you're gonna have to look elsewhere for something you can count on, whether it be high or low, at least you know you can count on it.
I think that's the whole point of tariffs, is to get consumers to look locally.
Yeah.
And I think it's a valid point. I mean, they work to that extent. Tariffs are probably great for the local economy. It hurts in the interim, while we're dealing with this price fluctuation. But in the long term, the idea is it helps the economy. And I'm not an economist to know how valid that is, or if this particular path the country's on today is going to get us there. But I think that's what this administration wants to do: get things manufactured and built locally. I think the caution I have there is, I see when a retailer, when a company has the opportunity to raise a price, they do. And if this product from China, that used to be $50 is now $90, well, the U.S. built company who maybe made it for 70 before, and it was uncompetitive at 70 because you get it for 50. Now they're like, well, we can get 90 for it now. So I have a feeling it's going to raise U.S. Manufactured goods as well.
That's a great point, Nathan. Yeah, I mean, I remember before I became an entrepreneur 20 years ago, I was in the gas business and working for a regional gas convenience store chain. And I remember kind of the pricing strategy was, and they were buying on the open market. So when prices would go up, they were always matching, like right in line by the minute. Oil prices would go up, fuel prices would go up. And a lot of it was just expectation, not necessarily that their supply costs had actually changed. But then all of a sudden, when oil and prices dropped and they could buy much cheaper, that decline was much, much slower. And that's really where they made all their money. And yeah, I mean, I was looking at one of these like Chinese-made robotic drone things recently, and I looked maybe 2 months ago, and then again yesterday, and it was 3 times the price that it was 3 months ago. Like, what's actually changed in between then? Because all of these existing products are already in the United States. Like nothing has actually changed with regard to the cost of that product, but whether it's replacement costs or whether it's just, okay, well, now there is fear in the marketplace and anticipation that things are going to cost more. Therefore, I'm going to increase the price, and not at all surprised to see a lot of that happen now. And hopefully some of that, we get a little more consistency where there's more transparency in the market, but not so much at the moment.
We saw the same thing during COVID, right? Like toilet paper as an example. When there's an opportunity to jack those prices up, they will. And if they can keep them up, they will. Otherwise, the market settles out and then they come down. But
yeah, I mean, even the lady who has chickens down the street has increased her egg prices, even though I'm pretty sure her supply costs have not gone up.
Right. Antonio put in the comments, there's an American car company backed by Jeff Bezos, people say it different ways, with cars at $20,000. So I don't know if they're all made totally domestically, like Toyota as an example. They build a lot of them in Mexico and then finish them off here as examples. But $20,000, they'll sell a lot of those suckers.
It's a great price for a car.
Right?
Yeah. If it's a good car. I think a big misconception on tariffs also is what is the tariff imposed on? Everyone relates the price of products to their retail price. And, if a lamp that you're buying to, put in your bedroom costs $50 and tariffs are 100%, they assume it's going to cost $100 now. And the retailers might be playing on that. But realistically, the wholesale price of products coming out of China is 10 to 20% of what the retail price is. And so the tariff is on that 10 to 20%, not the $50. So I think the math that's happening in everyone's head right now is a little inflated, causing a little more panic than what the reality is in some of these places, primarily China. It's different when you talk about lumber coming from Canada. It's wholesale rates, could be 60 to 70% of what it retails for. So big difference there.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's jump to the next article from MPA Mag. Broker used fake real estate listings to defraud investors out of $3 million. This guy, Stanislav Steve Sanikov, is a former real estate broker in Chicago. I guess he convinced these investors to deposit earnest money into what he claimed was a secure escrow account. And it wasn't. It was his own personal checking account, which is a big no-no.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And then he just used that money on his crazy lifestyle. So he's paying the cost. I guess one of his victims was an elderly guy that had to delay his retirement because of that.
Yeah. I mean, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a surprise to anybody in the audience that there are crooks out there of all shapes and sizes. But yeah, I don't know what to comment here other than not necessarily news that there's some scoundrel trying to separate people from their money and put it in his pocket. But yeah, it's unfortunate all around, and glad they could at least figure out who it was and hopefully return some of the money back to those investors.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's key.
I think.
Go ahead, Marcus.
Oh, sorry. I think it's spot on. It's just every month you hear about a scammer story like this in real estate. And I always think like the energy to put together this elaborate scheme, right, where he stole roughly $3 million in earnest money and he had these fake listings together. It's like that same genius can be put to use to probably make more legal dollars. So it's just people's decision making sometimes just surprises me. But, it's up to the consumer to do the proper due diligence. It seems like in this case, he probably used a lot of his credibility, so he didn't have to explain much, I'm guessing, to these consumers to get their money. But a shame overall. But, it's just people can put this type of genius to work in ways that are win-wins for everybody, not scamming,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just glad they caught him. I feel like so many of these fall under the radar, and the person never gets caught. They take millions of dollars. No one's willing to investigate it because it's, maybe across state lines, or the local PD doesn't care. It's not big enough for the FBI to investigate. We don't deal with a lot of home sale fraud, but we deal with tons of rental listing fraud. And I am blown away by the number of people out there that are trying to scam people out of, like you need to rent this property right now from me. Just, give me a deposit. I'll hold it for you. And then of course they disappear and they're not connected to the property at all. And, technology today makes it really easy for these scammers to get in front of a lot of people. And the last I read, or the last I heard, it was like $33 million, I think, last year that was stolen, scammed. This is just what's reported, which I bet's a small fraction of it. But that's what was stolen from renters who were just trying to get into a place. And these renters, most renters, they barely have that deposit money. Most of them don't. And when they do, they've scrounged together, they've borrowed just to get, a couple $1,000, maybe $3,000 for their deposit and their first month's rent. And then someone takes it from them. And then, now they're just out of luck. They can't even get a house. It's an awful situation.
Yeah. I mean, I've even seen pettier and worse in some cases than that, Nathan, recently. I mean, a lot of these folks who are in other countries that are never going to get caught are posting fake listings with their phone number and try to just get application fees, $60 or $100. But you need to pay before you can meet the person to see the property. And they're on traditional listing sites, but it's just like playing whack-a-mole to find these folks. And as you probably know too, I mean, good luck getting a human being at any of these large listing aggregator sites or God forbid Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace to do anything about these scammers. And so to your earlier point, I'm just glad to know that someone was held accountable, because the overwhelming majority of cases that I see, if you create a police report, it's just kind of like, okay, thanks, see you later.
Yeah, especially when it's a $35 application fee or $50 application fee, that goes right at the very bottom of the pile. But to your point, I think what a lot of these scammers are doing, besides that application fee, they're using it for data collection for identity theft. Because think about what happens when you go up and you fill out a rental application. They ask for everything, right? It's your name, your birthday, your parents' names, your contacts, your social security number, your last 3 addresses.
Good point,
this is critical information, and they're using that to then perpetuate their next fraud, which they, in our world, they'll use that stolen identity to try to set up an account at Zillow to put up more fake rental listings to get even more. And I think that's I wish there was a PSA that could get out to every single prospective renter out there to vet who you're giving your information to. Make sure it's a legitimate source. Look at that URL. Make sure that's it's a local company that you trust and you've confirmed that's really their website. Because too many people fall for it. It's too easy to fall for.
Maybe there's a business opportunity there to create a.
I was going to say, it seems like there's an opportunity for something. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't have time for that, but somebody run with it.
Right.
All right, let's jump to our next news item from United States real estate investor. Docked downfall, potential co-living collapse of America's shared housing revolution. Ooh.
Clickbait.
Right. We'll leave this for Atticus.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
I'll let you share the story, James. I probably know too much about this particular case, but
we should definitely dive in. I mean, I took some notes. I highlight some notes, but so dock living went down. Actually, Atticus, why don't you jump in, because there's a lot to this, and if you're, I know you're closer to it than I am.
So basically, in St. Petersburg, Florida, there was a company called Dock Living that was managing several co-living properties. They had gotten building permits as single-family construction, but ran into issues with some neighbors. Neighbors complained. Fire marshal got involved, and unfortunately, the manager of Dock Living tried to represent himself and his clients in federal court in order to prevent the fire marshal from getting people to move out, and was unsuccessful in doing so. Had he been represented by competent counsel, I'm not sure that things would have happened the same way. It is unfortunate for those owners, certainly. And the accurate part of this article, I think, is that, Dock Living has maybe collapsed is too strong a word. A lot of these homes are still there. They're still housing people. They've since come into compliance by reducing the number of people. But the bigger story here that is not at all in this particular article is the fact that, and I've seen this actually in our history a couple of years ago as well. It's like some of these fire marshals just go off on a rampage and just get wrapped around the axle on some of these issues that, relative to the human cost of those actions, I think there's a huge disconnect there. One, for instance, is a major point of confusion around fire code generally is fire code doesn't define family at all in any case that I've seen. And so they're often relying on a local definition of family to create their own somewhat arbitrary idea of how many unrelated people are allowed to live together in their definition of single family versus rooming house, right? Or lodging house, and lodging house or rooming house requiring sprinklers, commercial sprinklers, and commercial egress signs and stuff like that, which are not at all common in any sort of residential single family residential setting. But it still kind of comes down to some of this definition of family. I'd say from a philosophical perspective, what really nags at me is I looked at St. Pete specifically as soon as we got news that Dock Living was having issues there, and we pulled the public records. And fire marshals are like, their job is health and safety of the general public, right? Yeah. Like that's why they're there, and every action that a fire marshal takes will be taken even in their own heads of, okay, I am protecting public safety. Like public safety is my domain, and I will do whatever it is that is necessary to protect public safety. Well, in St. Petersburg in 2023, you had 482 times more likely to die from homelessness than you were from a home fire death. 482 times.
Oh, wow.
Based on actual statistics. And so, like, why, if it is your sole duty to protect and preserve public safety, would you have any risk of making someone homeless versus exposing them to like a theoretical home fire death? And it's like, anybody can compare that, right? Would you rather be on the streets, or would you rather be in a single family home that was permitted as a single family home? And like those two things, I think, are really the major issue here, or the major story, is that what is actually the role of a fire marshal if you're forcing people into homelessness, or even risking them for homelessness, versus in a house that is fully permitted and approved as a residential dwelling unit. And like, oh, by the way, that exact same house, I think some of them had 7 or 8 people. But if those 7 or 8 people had been related, this is an absolutely non-issue.
Right.
Non-issue whatsoever. And that's the story that I think we should all be talking about, not just as real estate investors, but as residents of the United States. Is like that's crazy. And I mean, my own personal experience, I did a ride along with I knew the old fire chief here in Atlanta pretty well, and did a ride along one day with the busiest station in the city of Atlanta. We had 11 calls that we responded to in the big old fire truck with 4 brawny dudes and little old me, like sitting in this truck. And of those calls, not a single one. So we had 11 calls, I think, over 3 or 4 hours. Not a single one was for a fire. It was all for, generally, because they were first responders, it was generally people who were homeless and in distress of some kind. And like, that should be a tell of what the actual problem is and what we need to solve, versus risking people being put out on the streets again. That's
so interesting. Like that big picture is.
Yeah, it's public data. I mean, like, look at your own city, wherever you happen to be, and how many people have died in residential fire deaths, and how many people have died while homeless. But yes, it's not close in any city that I've ever looked at.
Yeah, I would hazard to say the stats are probably pretty similar here. But I imagine, the fire marshal, or the guy making these decisions, his scope, at least what he's seeing, his scope is like pretty focused on buildings. And I bet you, if you were to ask him that same question, he's like, homeless, that's not my job. There's a whole state, organization that deals with that. My job is buildings. So I'll let them do that. I imagine that's what you'd get out of them. Is there needs to be a better universal coordination, probably at a state level, or at least a city level, that, they need to have some shared priorities in order to accomplish that. But and I don't know much about this situation or the affluence level of that area, but what I do understand, what precipitated it was just neighbors complaining. They probably some, neighbor who had a nice peaceful neighborhood, and now there's, 8 people living in a house where there used to only be 3. They're probably upset with the traffic, upset with the noise, or at least the perceived traffic and perceived noise. And so I understand, like, a lot of it started with just people complaining. And it was the fire marshal there. He was placating these complaints and trying to address the complaints, which was easier to do than to deal with, actually properly deal with the situation. That's what I read, not knowing much about it.
Yeah. It's like, do you want to solve the problem or do you want to check the box?
Right.
I wish we had more problem solvers.
Yeah, no, right. Like solve the problem the right way so that it benefits, everyone possible. We don't want to be kicking people out on the street. I think there's, like Atticus mentioned, both of you guys mentioned, this opportunity regulation wise to make sure the investors and the companies are on the same page with the city, the fire marshal, so that when a neighbor does complain, if a neighbor complains, like they're already in compliance, these regulations are clear cut and there's nothing really to do. But then, like Nathan mentioned, it just on a community level, I think there should be, and Atticus, maybe you can help me here, but there should be some sort of community engagement so that neighbors understand what's happening and they understand the benefit for the people living in that house. Otherwise, they might be homeless, for example, so that they're not like complaining, right? And I think if the community gets on the same page, fire marshal gets less calls, less pressure for them to react, and then, quote unquote, kick people out.
Yeah, I have been more optimistic on that particular strategy in the past, DeMarcus. As I look back historically, my own personal experience in working with neighbors and sitting in a lot of living rooms, but also just in the history of humankind, we've been pretty effective at separating ourselves for a long time, and I don't necessarily see that changing anytime soon, where I don't want those people living in my neighborhood. Like it's NIMBYism 101, right? And you're always going to run into it. And I've watched it play out personally. To some degree, like there's real constitutional conflict here too, though, right? Residents, related or unrelated, like they have the same rights under the U.S. Constitution, and right now they're being treated differently. And so there is absolutely a constitutional case to be had there, in my opinion. Now, I was only named after an attorney, but we've argued a lot of these types of cases before and won on very similar grounds. So, I really wish that you would only see complaints around substantive issues, like if the grass isn't cut or if there are cars parked on the lawn or blocking your driveway. Like those are all real issues that should be addressed. But if it's, well, that person makes less money than me, and so therefore I don't want them living in my neighborhood, that's not really substantive. I don't foresee a change in human behavior in that regard, unfortunately, but yeah, it should.
I got a kind of a
right.
Yeah,
I think neighbors will complain whether it's go ahead.
Oh, well,
yeah, I was just going to say, I think neighbors will complain, like you're saying, Atticus, to whether it's 2 people or 8 people. If the lawn is jacked up and there's people walking in and out, human behavior is going to trump everything, I guess. So yeah, back to you, James.
Yeah, and kind of along those lines. So one thing that we do when we're looking for a property, we want something that's got plenty of parking, because that's usually the biggest complaint. So, and then if it doesn't, like one of the houses we've got here in Denver, we ask that the people that were kind of later coming into the house to park around the corner, set up some rules just so it's not just becoming a problem. And then, we have landscaping taken care of. The members don't have to take care of that, so it doesn't become the eyesore. It's like the nice property on the block. So those are kind of the things that we do to head off these problems where the NIMBYs start complaining.
Yeah, listen, you nailed it there, James. People who are good operators very rarely have any issues whatsoever. It can happen, but it's extremely rare. But across the board, good, bad, indifferent operators, what we've seen. So we're the largest co-living operator in the U.S. We have almost 20,000 units, but pretty consistently, we have never seen more than 2% of inventory that has had any sort of code enforcement issue, like citation or warning or anything like that. So would you take a 98% bet that you're going to have a successful deal? Like, of all of the things that we do that carry a lot of risk in real estate investing, 98% is pretty solid.
That's good. I should probably kind of give a backstory on how Atticus and I met. So I'm in Denver. Pad Split came and spoke at our cash flow club, kind of gave all of our investors an idea of what Pad Split was all about and why they identified Denver as their next market. The two big reasons: affordability is terrible here, and along those lines, homeless problem. So kind of going back to the fire marshal, that situation, we've got a problem. And so the tide's shifting for co-living. Like, Atticus, you guys have met with government officials here, right? Like, they just changed the law about how many unrelated people live in a home. And it's pretty common in other places that it's
good news is, you shouldn't have any regulatory issues in Colorado.
Yeah.
The governor last summer, for anybody who doesn't know, signed a bill that prevents any local jurisdiction from using blood relationship or family status as an occupancy requirement. So it has to be based on health and safety. And what that effectively means is that anywhere in Colorado, you're good to go from a co-living strategy.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. And it's like the opposite of where short-term rentals have gone,
Yeah.
Like Denver, I used to rent out a room in my home. I was super host, but it had to be my own personal residence, and so it was pretty locked down. It still is, and getting worse, as most of you guys know, in other markets as well. So it's co-living's going the other way. So maybe some small markets, there's some things popping up, but I mean, Atticus, you see it nationwide, right?
The trend line is definitely pushing the other direction, which is why I don't think the article is really fair in terms of its prognostications. The momentum has been pushing pretty solidly the other way. We've seen Arkansas introduce a bill doing the same thing as Colorado. Texas recently, actually, they just had a bill pass the state Senate. It was either 30 or 35 to 1 that would allow would prevent cities from using blood relationship as an occupancy criteria. And I think it's in the House right now. So if anybody's listening from Texas, go call your state representative and lobby them to get that bill passed. But yeah, you're seeing it more and more, both at the city and the state level.
Yeah. Was it is it Washington and Oregon?
Yeah, both Washington and Oregon, same thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you want a solution in Seattle? There you go. Circling back to the first year.
Again, homeless problem in Seattle. I mean, if you've been there, tent cities and affordability is a problem. So we're providing that solution. So.
I think a lot of cities especially, but states in general, are recognizing the need for low income and workforce housing. Yep. And this co-living is an alternative, a very good alternative to building more low income housing, because that's become unaffordable to do as well. With all the requirements that get put into low income housing and how much it actually costs to build those, it's so much more economical to take a smaller property and split it up and, make it more dense rather than putting a giant apartment building, in one of these locations. Probably good for the cities too. Good for these NIMBYs that, they'd rather have, I think, one house that has 8 people in it rather than that be tore down and, a 60 unit apartment building put in the same spot.
Good point.
We should ask them. we should give them that alternative.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Pick your poison.
Right.
You bet. Yeah, even in Oregon, I mean, Oregon's very much trying to figure out their housing issue here, and they've gone as far as besides what Atticus was just saying there with the co-living stuff, is any single family lot you can build a duplex on. Doesn't matter what the city or the county says. There is nothing that can prevent someone from building a fourplex on a single family property in Oregon now. So they're really pushing density, and communities don't get any say anymore in that.
Interesting. I know, like here in Denver, ADUs are, they've really relaxed their laws on that, but the whole fourplex thing, that's another step.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, co-living, I think it's just something that has to work, at the point where we are with the economy, affordability, like it has to work. Good for Atticus, but they have to figure it out, you know what I mean? Because it's going to cause a huge problem, homelessness. I mean, God knows what can happen. So it's something that has to work, which is good for, I think, companies that are still involved like PadSplit. And once it gets figured out, once it gets smoother, once it becomes more normal, I think at the community level, it'll be great.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday that, good news is business is great. Demand's very high. But if we had enough housing, then it wouldn't be nearly as strong as it is. And so it's a catch-22. I feel a little bit guilty because business has been great for a long time with all of the tariff stuff and just the lack of new housing supply. I continue to think that business will be strong into the future, only because I don't have any faith that cities, states, or the federal government are going to quote unquote solve this in any meaningful way, which is sad. But yeah, we do what we can.
Yeah.
I think there's a paradigm shift that just has to change in the U.S. too. It's we're at a point in time where housing prices, it's not going to get cheaper to build houses. It's just not going to happen. As much as everyone wants it, as many bills as get passed that try to make it happen, those usually just make it more expensive. So there's a paradigm shift that just has to eventually change here, where more people are living in a property. It happens in most other countries around the world. Big families live together. You'll get a density that's probably 4 times the average of what it is here in the U.S. And I think we just we're going to have to embrace it and just deal with it. It's just it's something that has to happen. Sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, I love that point, Nathan. I mean, for the audience, it's not even necessarily the way that things are in other countries, but we used to be like that here. I mean, it used to be a thing here. If you go back to, if you take all the residential square footage in the United States in 1950 divided by the entire population, you came up with a per capita allocation of housing of 298 square feet per person. Okay, well, today that number is 800 square feet per person.
Wow.
So,
wow.
People think, we have this supply shortage. Well, it's not really true. It's just that we've been way less efficient in the way that we use space. And of course, now you have people who are aging in place, boomers, who have these large homes with multiple bedrooms. All the kids have moved out long since. And you have the highest portion of the population now that are singles living alone. And meanwhile, you've got, 32 million empty available bedrooms, even after accounting for home offices and storage, compared to quote unquote shortage of 7 million affordable units. That math's pretty easy, y'all. But we've got to get more efficient.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll take a break here in a sec. I just want to point out, Denver, we're building tons of apartments. It hasn't stopped. But a studio apartment here in Denver is about $1,450. A single bedroom apartment's $1,650. But somebody can get a co-living room for $850. That's significant, and that's the only option people have a lot of the times, based on what they make in their whatever job they have, or jobs they're having to do. Otherwise they're homeless. I mean, I deal with that on a daily basis, people just right on the verge, and we're providing that value. So
Absolutely.
it's a beautiful thing. So anyway, let's take a break to learn from one of our sponsors.
Are you worried about where your money is headed in today's unpredictable market? At Accelerated Capital, their investors tell them that safety and security are their highest priorities. They want to wake up every day knowing their hard-earned money is working hard for them. In the best interest of their investors, Accelerated Capital carefully vets every opportunity, knowing that most of their investors want to avoid risky strategies and stick with more boring but proven asset classes and strategies. Accelerated Capital's team of seasoned real estate experts and financial strategists value long-term relationships and transparency. They're also there to help investors find a fit for their own personal goals. Accelerated Capital has options for both accredited and non-accredited investors at any stage of their investing journey. Visit AccelerateMyCapital.com to download a free copy of The Astute Investor and join their Legacy Wealth Collective private investor club. Or click Schedule a Call to book a short Capital Accelerator call today. To get started, visit Accelerated Capital at AccelerateMyCapital.com. That's AccelerateMyCapital.com. Accelerated Capital. Accelerate your wealth with alternative investments.
All right, back to the news. From CNN, they tried to sell their homes without a real estate agent. Here's how it went. So this is a story about a couple different people. One gal in Michigan sold her house in 7 days and saved herself $30,900 in commissions. So she did say, I've got a lot to comment on this because I'm a licensed agent, but she said she did get a lot of calls, like 20 a day. A lot of them, the reality is a lot of them will be from other real estate agents trying to convert them to list with them. But she was getting a bunch of scams, which I hadn't heard much about. As we talked about before, there's a lot of people trying to scam people out of money. So, one of the risks when you're trying to represent yourself, you're not a professional, you don't have insurance to cover yourself, and you don't know the gotchas, where, you might be selling to a buyer that is represented by a professional that is a professional in negotiating. So I'm going to dive into this a little bit, but you're negotiating against a professional. And when you look at the numbers of what for sale by owners actually get. So here, let me read the stat from National Association of Realtors. So the typical FSBO for sale by owner property sold for $380,000 last year. That's whatever their median was, compared to $435,000. So that's a difference of $55,000. These for sale by owners are trying to save themselves money. I totally get that. But when you think about maybe you're paying a listing agent 3% on that purchase price, that's $13,000. So they're trying to save $13,000, but they're missing out on $55,000. That's a big gap, So just a little perspective from my side, as an agent. And, I've known agents that have actually hired other agents to list their own properties. Like maybe it's in an area they don't know, or they just don't want the risk and spend the time. So they understand the value of it themselves. So anyway, that's my soapbox. Anybody else want to jump in?
Yeah, I think dealing with the scammers,
I think it's.
I'd be curious, what is that scam play where they're trying to scam the seller? I can see scamming the buyer, right? But scamming the seller, I'm sure it's out there. I just haven't, my mind doesn't go there, so I'm not thinking about it. But
yeah, they mentioned crypto, so I don't know if that's a good question. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, I'll pay you. Your house is 400,000. I'll pay you 500. You give me 100,000 back. That was with cars. When you list a car on Craigslist, you get 100 of those things. So maybe it's something like that. But I think I can relate it back to our industry, where we have roughly 300 people sign up for our platform a month, and we vet all 300 of those. And we look at the data behind those signups and everything in it, and we can spot the fraud just like that because we do it day in and day out. And roughly 20% of them, it's just scammers trying to sign up to do naughty things. And I think that repetition that our staff has in identifying that is similar to the repetition a realtor might have in identifying the fraud on behalf of the seller. So I think having a professional there to identify and weed that out so you don't risk losing money or the huge inconvenience of dealing with them kind of seems worth it. And it also sounds like, according to those numbers you just gave us, James, the money pays for the Realtor Plus some as well.
Yeah. I've heard some of those stats, but I hadn't actually done the math to go, oh, you're saving 13, but you're losing 55. That's a no-brainer, and those are NAR stats, not something I just came up with. I think the other thing, when you're going through escrow, there's a lot of things that, unless you're in the business and you do this all the time, you don't understand. Oh, there's all these disclosures: the seller's property disclosure, lead-based paint, source of water, all those kinds of things that you have to sign and provide to the buyer. There's timing. I mean, we have a calendar with times and deadlines that you have to hit. If you miss something, that buyer could be like, oh, I'm out. Like at the drop of a hat, one little missed thing, they can be like, oh, you're out of contract. And oh, shoot, now you got to start over. So it's those kinds of things that I think a lot of people that do this, they just don't understand all those risks. So go ahead, DeMarcus.
Yeah, James, I agree. Like, this story is, I'm not going to say she got lucky, but it's super market specific. Like, her being that successful, I think is not the norm. I do think I'm not an agent, but I know you are. My wife is as well. Like, if property owners are going to feel this resistance from NAR, whether it be from the news or their personal experience with realtors, if that's going to keep growing, like, there might be an opportunity for, in the future, like, more of a la carte services from realtors, right? Instead of saying, work with me for 6% or nothing, it could be like, hey, I want to do this, but I need your help with negotiation, contracts, and the closing with the title attorney or title company. So I know most realtors don't want to hear that, but it could be something that's an opportunity versus people that are just going to go out there and sell it on their own or try to. So could be some opportunity coming down in the future.
Yeah, that's a good point. It mentioned in the article, one person that had a bad experience, but there's title companies will help you directly. So that is an a la carte thing. I actually the timing's crazy. I just built a whole FSBO website locally for where I am, where I do offer things a la carte. They can go in, they can purchase professional photography, a pre-inspection, especially like if it's a older house, they might want to get an inspection ahead of time just to see what kind of gotchas are going to come up when the buyer has their inspection. You don't want to have a big surprise on your hands. They can order transaction coordination, use my transaction coordinator, which can help them stay on track. So yeah, I'm providing that service to folks that want to do it on their own, but maybe need a little help along the way. So
yeah, James, I'm kind of curious. Maybe you can speak to this. Is I hear it all the time, mostly from contractors building spec homes. A good example is, they spend 6 months to build this home, their time and sweat that goes into it, and they might profit 25 grand on it in the end. But they're using a realtor to list it who, they put a sign out front, they put it online, they field a dozen calls, and they're making 30, 35 grand for their 2 weeks worth of work. So there's a perception out there, at least what I'm hearing, that why does the realtor deserve, why does that realtor team, the 3% split on either side, deserve 30,000 when the contractor spent 6 months putting this all together? So I think now with that, NAR lawsuit and all that coming out, it's more upon realtors to show their value to folks like this contractor. So anyways, tear that apart if you want, because I'm curious from your perspective.
Yeah, it's a good point. Yeah. Providing evidence of our value is always a constant challenge, right? Because, everybody thinks, oh, you're just sticking a sign in the yard and sticking it on the MLS. Like, there's so much more to that, we've got to go through continuing education every year, ethics, fair housing stuff. That's the other kind of thing. Like, when you're listing a property, if you put the wrong thing in there, like, great for kids, like, oh shoot, that's a fair housing violation because you're singling out single people. Yeah, right. Those kind of details that could really get you in trouble. You're not really aware of that, and that's why we spend the time in the background before we've ever even started the job. So that's an example of the kinds of things that having somebody in your corner that knows all of that stuff is really important. And then back to the negotiation. I'm certified as a negotiation expert. Not every realtor goes through that training, but if I'm up against another realtor or somebody that's trying to sell on their own, they're at a huge disadvantage because they haven't been trained and really understand all the subtleties. So
I think that's the
biggest
top
difference. I think.
Go ahead, DeMarcus.
Sorry, Nathan. Yeah, the biggest thing I think the difference is like just what people FSBO is trying to sell on their own versus with the realtor. Just like simple market analysis when it comes down to pricing. Like, she got really lucky with this story, I think, for how fast she sold it. But a lot of them just sit on the market because this homeowner thinks that their property is worth $650 when just any normal investor or agent can look and see the comps are like $580, and there's no way it should be listed at $650. So the education part you're talking about, James, along with just like understanding like this property isn't going to sell at this price. Let me help you. Let me bring my value to the table so we can get this thing sold faster,
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I'm also trained in pricing strategy too. And there's differences of opinions in pricing strategy amongst realtors. I usually go the opposite way of most start high and just going for the moon, and then they end up dropping the price over time to come down, but then you're at a disadvantage. I mean, people are like, why did you drop price?
Yeah.
Like, the blood's in the water, where maybe you should start lower and create a bidding war and let the market tell you how much somebody's willing to pay. That's how I approach it.
I've yet to see a homeowner do that.
It's a conversation I have that I have to like kind of lead people into understanding the thinking behind it, the psychology, right? So, because they're used to realtors going, oh yeah, we can list your house for $650. They're saying yes when they're actually hurting that client. So it's unfortunate, but everybody, they promise the world, and then how does that work out? They probably that client probably didn't get what they could have gotten. They don't realize that, and then it makes that realtor look bad. Like, it's not good business, I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that stat you gave earlier, James,
to get all that done.
The stat you gave earlier, the average, nationwide, I assume, the realtor or an agent listing the property sells the property for on average $50,000 more. That right there, that's the most compelling factor of all for a seller.
Yeah. Well, hey, let's jump to our next news item from National Mortgage Professional. FBI Boston warns of growing title fraud. I guess there's scammers forging documents. one thing I see coming up is targeting vacant land and lien-free properties too. So they call it a quitclaim deed fraud. So I see that all the time, or hear about it. The other thing, this is the one I haven't figured out. I have people reach out to me as a realtor. They say, hey, I'm looking for a home. I'm moving from some other state. And I start asking questions like, oh, what are you looking for? What price point? And it's been this kind of similar story. Oh, we're looking in the $2-3 million range, where, that raises an eyebrow, like, whoa, really? And there's usually a story where it's like, oh, it's single parent with an ailing parent, the grandparent, and then 1 or 2 kids. I've had this like 3 or 4 times. And I'll go along with it thinking, oh, it's maybe somebody real. But then I start doing due diligence, try to verify it's a real person. And they waste so much time. And then all of a sudden it just kind of fizzles out. Like, I don't know what the angle is, but anyway.
Yeah.
What are you guys seeing?
Yeah, I think this is it's a scary thing. I've seen in Atlanta here locally this happen, where I go to look at a house. I'm thinking it's going to be the owner, the guy I've been talking to. The guy doesn't want to show up in person, can barely keep him on the phone. And then I get out to the property, and it was a lady, and she says her mom passed away a year ago. She's been there, and this guy that I've been talking to has been trying to steal the house. Like, I wasn't the first investor to go out there and try to buy the house. And that's when I first learned about, like, quit claim deed fraud. She was saying that, she had a lawyer, the lady did. And I actually spoke with the lawyer. The lawyer explained to me what was happening, that the guy I had been speaking to was trying to steal the house from this lady through an apparent, I guess, quit claim deed fraud. So it's a scary thing. It's just something you don't think about too much, but it's people actually taking houses this way. And it's very scary for homeowners, absentee owners, landlords, and everybody alike. So something you have to keep an eye out for, because people will just do anything, it seems,
There's big money.
Yeah. More scammers, and especially, DeMarcus, here in Atlanta, as you know, like, the hustle is real here, whether it is rental fraud, like application fraud, title fraud, the what's the movement around, like, sovereign citizens just like walking in and saying, oh no, I own this house now, because you have no claim to it. We've dealt with lots of junk like that as well. And listen, there no surprise again. Whether we're talking about the real estate agent running away with $3 million, or these title fraud guys, or the same thing in Kansas City for tax fraud. It's like scammers abound regardless of industry. Like, yeah, that is a box we can check.
Yep.
Only they could quantify.
Oh, go ahead.
I would say, if they could just quantify the economic loss based on all these scammers, then maybe as a country, maybe something at the federal level could put more pressure on eliminating them, because it has to be in the billions, if not trillions, of dollars in economic loss.
Yeah, well, it says in the article from 2019 to 2023, it cost victims over $1.3 billion. That's in that time period, with 61.5 million lost in New England alone.
That's crazy.
It's up there. It's up there.
And I think, like, how the system makes it pretty easy to do this. I'm sure I've read about this in our local paper as well, happening in our county. And I think about what it takes. Usually the title company takes care of all this, but you don't have to have a title company do it. You can fill out the paper, the quitclaim deed. You can find a notary. Notaries are really, really easy to find, and anyone can be a notary pretty much.
Yep.
So you get your notary friend, to endorse something, to go down and file that paperwork, and suddenly the ownership changes. And it maybe isn't going to ultimately give the person ownership, because hopefully, they figure it out, but it's sure going to make a huge hassle for the actual owner to fix all that. And I don't think they find out until they try to sell the property, which might be years down the road.
Yeah.
It suggested.
I was going to say, I think there are some title monitoring services, but like Nathan said, you don't find out until you're like 6 months from wanting to sell the house or sell the lot or whatever it is. So you guys can help me out. Are there any services, apps or something like that that'll monitor more accurately what's going on with the title on your property? Do you guys know anything like that? Or is that something I should create and mute out of this? Before, I don't know. It has to be something, right?
I'm not aware, but that is a great idea. Now, I was going to bring up, blockchain. That's going to change our world. Mm-hmm. Like all title's going to go through blockchain at some point, just when that gets all figured out. But which will be a benefit. I don't think there's a way. Maybe there's a way to hack it, and turn it to benefit a scammer. But at least monitoring, that's a huge step, because right now it's just so disjointed. Yeah. Every time you sell a property, you got to rerun title. If it's just there from the start of blockchain tracking that to the end of time, I think that's going to smooth out a lot of these bumps and potentials to scam. So.
Yeah, that could be a good solution. I do know my credit monitoring tells me when I buy a new property and it shows up with my name on a property deed. I get notified when my name is added to a deed, but I don't sell properties ever. So I don't know if it goes away when I sell the property, if I get that notice, because that sounds like in this particular case, the value would be if your name is removed from a deed.
Why are you hoarding properties? Come on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that sounds like
Sell, man.
Nathan. Don't have
That's my thing.
The housing shortage.
100% occupied, and keep them filled and don't sell them. Done.
You betcha. I don't live in all of them. They're all rentals. They're all. I'm trying to help.
You're a housing provider, right? I love it. Yeah.
No, that's my motto: buy, never sell.
Yeah.
But in real estate, especially, people ask me all the time, it's like, well, in 3 years, what if the price drops, because, the housing market, has its ups and downs. And that's totally possible. It's going to happen here. It's happening, in Florida right now. But if you think at it longer term, I tell people, don't ever buy a property if you're going to sell it in less than 10 years. Just factor you're going to own that for 10, hopefully longer, and you're not going to lose money. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, particularly if it's throwing off cash every time, right? What does it matter what someone else says it's worth if it's throwing off cash for you to live your lifestyle? Like, not relevant.
Yeah. Like I bought a house in 2006, right before the crash. Well, that would have been a disaster if I sold it, but I stayed in it until it was worth a lot more. Just stick with it.
Yeah.
Antonio put LifeLock for deed fraud. I don't know.
Oh, somebody beat me to it.
If that's part of it, or he's just suggesting maybe LifeLock has part of that built in, but maybe you can comment. Well, let's jump to the next article from KXAN Austin News. Oh, Antonio says it doesn't exist.
Gotcha.
Yep. Austin real estate investor Nate Paul sentenced in bank fraud case. Another fraud case. we got plenty each month. I guess he was a once celebrated investor in the area, and he actually avoided prison time after pleading guilty to a single count. So just a little background.
James, don't we have enough bad news already? Can't we focus on the good news, man?
I know.
You got to rewrite some of these headlines, brother.
I'll blame Antonio. Oh man,
it drives me crazy in that case that he gets 4 months house arrest. Yeah, millions of dollars, $172 million at stake there that taken, and he gets 4 months house arrest. because he had the political connections and probably money. But it just, some of these fraud cases, if we ever want to see it go away, these guys are going to have to go to jail for a long time in order for the word to get out that like you can't commit this kind of fraud in the U.S.
Yeah, he was buddies with Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. Yeah,
Makes sense.
He was connected.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I kind of dug into it a little bit more. I was like, what happened there? And even the judge was like, like this is paining. It pained him to have this be the outcome. He wanted to really make him.
I don't know much about. Yeah, I don't know much about this guy or this case in particular, but it's just like you would think, just morally, like your reputation is everything. He's not going to be able to come back and rebuild because of this case. But there might be so many other people like him that he might actually rebound. That's the messed up part, along with the short sentence. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, in the article, so get this. He had 12 counts against him, I think. He was seeking a $48 million loan, and then he used a counterfeit document to make it appear to the lender that he had over $18 million in his bank account. The bank account only had $13,000. That's a big lie.
You just loop the 3 and then add.
It's creative financing.
Yeah, I mean, to your point, DeMarcus. Yeah, I mean, he could have just kept it at 13 million and just put a dot with 3 zeros, and then he wouldn't have been lying, right? He just happened to add 3 zeros.
Right. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
He was also mixing funds too, so it was supposed to be in one account, but he was pulling it out and put it into other business accounts, other LLCs or something. And, we see that getting people in trouble too. You're not supposed to mix funds like that. He also claimed 100% ownership in a company called Silicon Hills Campus as part of a $64 million loan he'd made, but he only held 9%, not 100%. So, I mean, they had a lot to get him on. So,
yeah.
Well, let's go to the next one from United States real estate investor. Florida's housing market is falling apart. Builders slash prices as demand crumbles. A little bit different story than Seattle, right? So KB Homes led the panic, cutting prices up to $30,000 in cities like Tampa, Orlando, and Jacksonville.
Yeah, I haven't seen it as much. We have a bunch of hosts in Florida. The harder thing in Florida is just insurance. Where,
right.
I mean, between the increase in insurance for just like the condo collapse and aging infrastructure of some of those condominiums, combined with risk from hurricane damage, that's the biggest driver of some of these issues that we've seen in Florida. Yeah, I mean, is it a housing collapse in Florida? Haven't seen evidence of that just yet. I mean, I think if that were true, you'd see a lot more people buying in Florida. It's still just as popular as ever.
Yeah, I think to that point, I would argue it's not a housing collapse. I would say it's a very natural change. Florida in the last 5 years, they're up 75%, but the rest of the country is up 60%. So they're already 15% above the rest of the country. I feel like if they've dropped 10, they're not even where they need to be right now. It's certainly just a minor correction and probably not a buying opportunity, as probably some folks are suggesting.
I need the thumbs up emoji on this screen, James. Somebody tell.
Yeah, like Antonio was saying, it's like, like Antonio was saying, you guys are saying, I think it was like more normal from what I understand. This Florida, it's just their migration patterns, right? It's just people flock there. When people move, there's so much inventory. These houses are sitting on the market, like this article talks about with KB Homes, and now they're having to slash prices. So I think it's more normal for Florida, is what I'm getting, rather than like extreme crisis outside of their insurance costs, HOA fees, all that type of stuff, like Jesse's saying.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, Florida, Vegas, like where Antonio is, those markets tend to ride up and down more than like a Denver is a little bit more stable. Or like Midwest, those are just chug along pretty flat.
Yeah, definitely. I think Florida's always been that way from what I recall. It's, it's really hot and then it dies off. But today I have to think people are thinking about, the weather and hurricanes. And I haven't read a single article about hurricanes getting weaker or fewer. It just seems like there's more and more and more. And Florida's kind of like a bullseye for those right now. So I understand. I've got family that's in insurance, and insurance is totally based on risk. And if the houses are going to get wiped out from a hurricane or a wildfire or a flood, price is going to go up like it has in Florida. It's like up like 4 times or something. It's ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah. Something else I was thinking, like in the article, it said 172,000 homes are sitting on the market. Well, it doesn't say what the normal is to give you a basis. So it's like, wow, that sounds like a lot. And I don't know if you guys follow the guy, I think it's Reventure. He hammers on the Florida market all the time. But I don't know what his motivation is, he's kind of a data guy, but you can kind of pull some of these numbers out of context, and all of a sudden it just sounds like, the sky's falling. So I don't know. Anyway,
Could be a good time for investors,
Exactly. Yep. There's always opportunity when things shift, right? Let's take a break to learn about one of our other sponsors.
Are you looking to elevate your business through exceptional content? Universe Media Publishing is your gateway to success. We understand that in the world of business, content is king, but not just any content. Your business deserves content that captivates, convinces, and converts your audience into clients. At Universe Media Publishing, we specialize in crafting SEO-rich web content, persuasive copywriting, and marketing copy that resonates with your audience. We don't just write, we engage, we connect, and we deliver results. Imagine your brand's voice amplified, your message crystal clear, and your presence dominating the digital landscape. That's the power of partnering with Universe Media Publishing. Don't let your business just blend in. Stand out, be heard, and make an impact. Connect with us at Universe Media Publishing, and let's turn your vision into reality. Visit universemediapublishing.com today. Your story, our expertise. Together, we'll create magic.
Okay, back to the show. From Mansion Global, homes are lingering on the U.S. market for the longest time in 6 years. Averages 47 days, according to Redfin. I think that's their national stats. Of course, every market's a little bit different. So,
yeah, it seems to me like kind of circling back to the first story we read on just tariffs. I have to imagine there's just a lot of people feeling uncertainty right now and wondering which way things are going to go. Maybe holding off on some of these large purchases. But supply is still super tight. Nathan, I don't know if you know offhand how many months we are of supply, but we've been in low supply range for a long time.
Yeah, I looked up Denver's average days are 58 right now, and median are 33. So it's up there. I've got a couple listings right now. We priced right and got under contract pretty darn quick. And it's a fully remodeled home too. That makes a big difference. And in that kind of starter home price point. So that makes a big difference too.
We've just had an incredibly historic run of pricing here. So longest period in 6 years, again, is all relative. We were talking about buying houses for $25,000. Yeah, I started buying significantly in 2008 to 2012. It's a different world, and hard to believe we're gonna get back to anything close to that.
I think the article, if you take last 5 years, if you erase 2021 and 2022 from that equation, that was a total anomaly, based on exceptional circumstances. If you erase just those 2 years from our last 5 years, that article would be rewritten to say inventory is exactly the same as it's been for the last 10 years. And it wouldn't be nearly as exciting. But what the reality is we're just back to normal. Yeah. And sure, it's a shock because a few years ago things were selling like that, but we're just back to normal, which is probably a good thing for the industry.
Yeah, I think it's buyer caution is high, like Nathan's saying. It's just it's back to normal. But like James, like you said, it's up to agents to price strategically. Don't overpromise. And have your house sit on the market for 20, 30 days before you make a cut. Now the days on market is super high. Be transparent with sellers about the sellers fell in love. Sellers that have been planning to sell, I think, fell in love with the market in 21 and 22, and now they might be ready to sell, but it's not the same. So just education goes a long way there too.
Yeah, and I think it all trickles back to interest rates again. Back a few years ago, interest rates were so low. And your $400,000 home, would cost you $1,700 a month. That was your payment on that $400,000 home. It's $1,000 a month more now, today's interest rates. So it's not as many people can afford as many homes, and with home prices as high as they are, it squeezes that, and it creates pressure on the market and just slows the sales process. I'm actually surprised it's not worse than it is. Then I feel like the shock in the interest rates going up back up to around 7-ish, I would expect it to be a bigger shock than it is right now.
Yeah, when the rates went up, it's like, no one wants to pay more. Problem is, like, some people just can't pay more, right? That's when you're in that affordable first-time home buyer, it just prices people out completely. It's not a choice anymore, which is unfortunate. Do
you guys think we can see rates at 5.5 by end of year, or in the 5s, or do you think it's going to be where it is now, 6.5, 7 or more?
I don't think so. I think it's not going to fluctuate more than a half a point by the end of the year. But who knows? Those people who make those decisions, they're so far over my head. They do their own thing that I wouldn't trust my guess on that, but I would say no.
Yeah, depends on who you're talking to. There's a lot of factors, but like I was listening to Michael Zuber. Do you guys follow him? One rental at a time. Love to get him on the show, but he was talking to somebody else that knows even more about how this all works, and they're thinking it's going to go up quite a bit more. We're in for.
I don't think anybody knows what's going on. Certainly not me.
Right. Yeah. We'll see. Yeah, there's factors like the bond market and I don't know. I can't speak to that stuff, but yeah, not that we can change anything, right? So just prepare for whichever direction it goes, adjust.
Yeah, I think it boils back to it's never a bad time to buy. You're better off buying today, generally speaking, in real estate. If you're interested in it and you want to get into real estate, you want to buy, whether it's your first house or another investment property, just do it. Because next year it's not going to be any better, and you're going to be a year behind. Yeah. And if rates drop, in a year, great, refinance, get the lower rate. But just get in.
I can tell you this much: your time's not getting any less valuable. Yeah. And all these things compound. So, totally. And there are other ways to do deals too that are not reliant on whatever mortgage rates happen to be.
Yeah, like we're always beating this drum. Like buyers are like, "Oh, I'm going to wait for the rates to go down." Well, don't hold your breath. They might be going up, and if you're waiting, and they do go down. Guess how many other buyers, especially in that like first-time home buyer market, come out of the woodwork, and guess what? It's making offers over asking, and so the price is it's that teeter-totter. Rates rates are low, you're going to have high prices. So get in now, leverage that time, like you're saying, Atticus. So.
Yeah, buyers should just buy when you can afford it, because now is as good a time as any, as Nathan is saying. Like, it's going to be another problem in the next 3 or 4 years if you wait. So if you can afford it responsibly, definitely buy now. Yeah.
Yep. Cool. From Hoodline, Bloomington City Council to host public hearing on proposed co-living zoning amendments. It's not much of an article. Just they're trying to define what co-living is and put.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we talked about this a lot. It's becoming a trend. I think there are a lot of, particularly now with federal funding dried up, a lot of cities are recognizing that this has to be a thing, because there's just way less money that they have to be able to solve affordable housing issues. And as a result, you're seeing more trends across every city and state to at least evaluate what the possibilities are, if not remove some of the regulatory barriers that exist today. But yeah, I know we covered this a lot in the story about docked as well.
Yeah. One point I'd like to make too is, like, they're having this meeting to kind of create some definitions. That's actually a good thing when you think about it. So take a look at like short-term rentals. In areas where there weren't any rules, the operators were at risk of new rules being piled on them after the fact, after they're up and running. And then they're like, oh no, these rules are going, against what we're doing. And then they're in trouble, where it's almost better to go into an area where there is a set of rules, where they've already thought this stuff through on the governmental side and put those guidelines in place. So you're not like wondering what's going to happen. So.
Totally agree. If you can design your business to fit pre-existing rules, if the county, the city, the state, whatever, has already thought it through and defined what your business is based on, you have a predictable outcome, instead of, like you were just saying, if they change the rules after the fact, that can be problematic. I don't know if this, Bloomington, if it's a predetermined outcome. Sometimes, a city, they want to get rid of something. They either want to promote it or they want to get rid of it. So who knows what that meeting's about? It might be about how they define co-living into, non-existence, for that area. Or maybe they're trying to do what you said and define it so it's possible. I think the latter being, like, that's what we hope every city does. Define it, make it predictable, turn it into a business model. And that actually publicizes the possibility a little bit too. If there's a zoning or a type of residence that is defined as co-living, it makes it that much more of a legitimate type of situation. So it seems like it's good for the co-living industry.
Yep. I try to stay optimistic. So.
But I have heard of, let's say I looked up, it was Shawnee, Kansas, and Palm Springs. They've both passed local ordinances that more or less prevent it. Like, I don't know. I've never been to Palm Springs. It's on my list, but I don't know how big it is. But I think I read they limited co-living to a maximum of 30 in the entire city. So once there's 30, whoever goes for a permit to do a co-living residential unit, number 31, they're just on a waiting list until one of them drops off and turns back in. So that seems like kind of a excessive, but other cities banned it outright. So I'm sure you've got more feedback on that, Atticus.
Yeah, well, I mean, I know that there's a group called the Pacific Legal Foundation that is actively challenging the Shawnee ruling or the Shawnee ordinance in federal court. So, hold the phone, I think is the short answer.
We'll see. All right, let's go to our next article from United States Real Estate Investor. Kansas City realtor caught in $800,000 COVID relief and IRS tax scam bombshell. Sorry, guys, more scams. Just real quick. So it's a Kansas City realtor giving us a bad name. Michelle O'Connor. Let's see. She dodged $500,000 in taxes over more than a decade, while simultaneously securing $300,000 in COVID relief funds through 34 fraudulent loan applications using fake businesses and diverting $115,000 into cryptocurrency. So this wasn't a one-off. she's stacking the deck against herself.
Wow.
Anyway, she faces 25 years in prison.
I hope she gets it. It needs to happen. And I'm not surprised at all to hear this either. We applied for nothing during COVID. We did great through COVID, kept all of our employees. Just the nature of our business survived it really well. And yet somehow our business applied for 3 separate COVID relief loans. Mm-hmm. And I got the paperwork from the state, said, we're finalizing your loan, distributing hundreds of thousands of dollars. And it would have happened. It would have just gone through had I not called and said, hey, we never applied for any loan. But they just didn't have the controls in place, I think, to stop them. Yeah. And they weren't requesting enough information. They weren't doing their fraud checks to make sure that someone wasn't applying in our name. So I can only imagine, we respond to stuff really, really quick. We're always on the lookout for that kind of stuff, but I bet just it fell through. Like this lady, she got a few businesses, got COVID relief funds for other businesses that, got stuck in that scam. It's a bummer. I hope she gets some prison time.
Yeah, it just keeps that. I mean, she fabricated deductions. A lot of business owners kind of pushed the line on that. False bankruptcy filings and misuse of nonprofit structures. It just, it's a big bulleted list. It says in here, like as a warning.
Yeah, I think there was
Go ahead.
I think there was a lot of opportunity for abuse when it came to the COVID relief. A lot of opportunity for abuse, and it looks like this lady just did works as far as abusing COVID relief funds, with nonprofits. So some people just take full advantage of being a criminal, and hopefully she gets what she deserves, so that other people won't take this money that really needs to go to people who need it. So hopefully she gets, I guess, better justice than our Austin guy did. So we'll see what happens with her.
Maybe she'll have time to write a book, the playbook on how to scam or not get scam. Man, she just brought out all the tools.
I'm really pleased to hear that whoever's prosecuting and investigating these is looking back, because this was years ago, this all happened. They're looking back and finding the fraud now. Granted, they let it slip through and, at the time, because they were in a hurry to get that money out. But I'm really glad to hear that they're going backwards and looking back and catching some of these.
Yeah. One of these articles, I forget how many documents they were going through. They'd gone back years. It's like it was a full-time job to just unwind all that stuff. So I was going to say too, in the article it said, warning, just vet your partners in the deals and stuff. We've raised money through syndication, a couple syndications by apartment complexes, and part of our process was running background checks on all of us that were in the partnership. Because I've heard stories of people not doing that, thinking somebody's legit, but those records revealed something later. So we did that up front, so we knew that we were in partnership, because we were all in this deal, bringing investors, a lot of them, like in my case, personal friends. I knew where my ethics lie, but not knowing these other people as intimately, it was good to do that due diligence. So I felt comfortable that I was in partnership with legit people. So
that's really wise. That's like, it's almost like I hear about all these business partnerships that they don't think things through in advance. when a problem occurs, they're thinking about it later, and so it's always wise to have, your business prenup, designed. But I think it's equally wise to what's the history of your partners? Have they committed fraud in their past? Because certainly make me second guess working with someone.
Yeah, it's our SEC attorney was the one that was like, hey, got to do this. I remember getting an email like, what is this? Oh, I've never had a background check. like, I know I'm clean, but it was like, oh, this is good. So
it shows a well-organized, person, putting this together. If they're doing that, they're checking all these important boxes. It would make me a lot more comfortable in a deal, knowing that whoever's in charge of it is actually performing those steps.
Yeah. Let's go to the next. Oh, do you have something else, DeMarcus? He's got a delay.
I was going to say I agree. Yeah, it's got to be thorough. I was just saying I agree. You guys should be thorough. It's good that you guys did that, and you can never trust people too much nowadays, even when they seem legit and sound legit. So being as thorough as possible is the best move.
Yep. Trust but verify. All right, from Benzinga via Yahoo Finance. Biggest deal of the year so far in New York City. Real estate developer Naftali Group agrees to pay $800 million for Manhattan Tower. It's a luxury apartment tower in Manhattan. So it's interesting. I did the math on this. I was like, oh, $800 million. Well, what did they get for that? It's 208 units, which seems like that's a big number, but divide that 800 million, that's 3.8 million per unit. And then it was saying, I guess some of them are rented out. So there's 2 bedrooms starting at 16,500 a month, and 3 bedrooms are like 23,500 a month. So these are some mind-boggling numbers.
Can I just Airbnb one of them for a weekend? That's all I want.
Yeah, that's crazy, huh? Oh man.
Yeah, that's out of our range. There's no $800 million deals happening in Southern Oregon right now. So
no. Yeah, and they thought they got a good deal because at least the sellers were thinking $1 billion, so they saved some money. What? Oh man.
Yeah, it's got like good views of Central Park and stuff. I bet that is probably a pretty good deal. I hear about apartments in New York selling for tens of millions of dollars. So I don't know what the quality of these is compared to some of the others, but real estate is just out of this world over there.
Yeah, as long as it's a 100% non-recourse loan, I'm in.
Yeah. Good point. All right, let's jump into our last article, our fun news item. Anthropic just analyzed 700,000 Claude conversations and found its AI has a moral code of its own. So it aligned with their helpful, honest, harmless framework, I guess. So, but it said the study uncovered rare but concerning deviations such as expressions of dominance, often linked to jailbreak attempts. So I don't know if they're talking about people like prompting, trying to ask Claude how to break out of jail.
No,
AI was jumping in.
Yeah, I think they're probably trying to get the AI to do things that it is designed not to do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm certainly a Claude fanboy through and through. So I thought this was pretty interesting, and I mean, on our team, it is interesting seeing the AI learn over time. Our head of marketing asked, I don't know if it was GPT or Claude, but to write something in Atticus LeBlanc's voice. And like it described my voice pretty well, actually.
That's cool.
And it was interesting. It was interesting to see. I was like, oh gosh, I guess even if I get hit by a bus tomorrow, at least my voice can carry on through all these various AI agents.
Yeah. Go record your 5 minutes or whatever in HeyGen, and then we'll have you and your face forever.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Now we just need to figure out that whole consciousness, passing my consciousness on, and we'll be good to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's good news. Sounds like Claude's going to be the last one to become Skynet, or the last to be assimilated by Skynet if it has this moral code. But I think the AI providers, each model is they have to differentiate themselves now, because there's a lot.
Yeah.
Every major company has a AI model out now, and so which is the best to use? And some are great for coding, some are great for writing. I think people are going to have to start making decisions, and one of the decisions is going to be based on this. What's the moral code? What is the, what's the design of the AI producing, and is it positive? And a lot of people, assumably everybody wants that, and so if that is at the forefront and the center of its language, then that's a good selling point.
Yeah, I use ChatGPT every day, all day. Sometimes, man, I've had a bunch of tech issues, and I just have it. It's my tech support. Like, I won't even go direct to the tech support for whatever problem I've got with some service.
Is this the point where I come clean and say that Atticus is actually off in a different place and I'm actually his AI? Is that?
Oh man, I had no idea.
I make that big reveal.
It's advanced so much in the last year. It's amazing.
Oh yeah, I can't believe how quickly I've come to rely on it. And then I've been thinking like, oh, well, I'm using ChatGPT, but some people are using Claude and Grok, and I'm like, what? I don't know how much it's actually learning me and my voice, like Atticus you were talking about. But I'm like, oh, should I jump now into something else if it's better, and have it start training its algorithm on me now? Because especially some of the stuff I use, like maybe coming up with scripts, I want it in my voice, right? So I want it to learn that. So I don't know. Interesting position to be in now.
Yeah, in general,
transparency.
Go ahead, DeMarcus.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think the transparency in the article was good. Like, we use it so much in our business, and I know you guys do as well. So it's just like, the more transparent these providers are, I think the more buy-in they'll get from the public. And I think the company that's the most transparent will win this race. So it was good to see, what Atticus, what the model does and doesn't do. But even the bad stuff, I think it's important for them to be transparent so that people understand it more. Just because we use it so much in our company, but there's some people that still don't believe in AI. They've never used ChatGPT, that sort of stuff. So just transparency, I think, is good, and we'll spread the power of AI, because we use it every day for almost everything.
I think DeMarcus hit the nail on the head there. That is going to be the winning AI model. The company that wins is going to be the most transparent, because I think the only thing that is going to hold back the future of AI is people's fear of it. And so if there's nothing to be fearful of, if they're fully transparent on how this works, that's going to reduce that fear, and that's going to be the winner. So good for them.
Yep. Anything to add? Okay. Well, that covers the news portion of our show for this month. I'd like to thank our sponsors, United States Real Estate Investor Advertising, Accelerated Capital at acceleratemycapital.com. Join our private investor club there. Universe Media Publishing at universemediapublishing.com. And of course, thanks to our guests, Atticus LeBlanc from PadSplit, Nathan Miller from Rent Tech Direct, and DeMarcus Mabry from Rocket Flipping Academy. Why don't you guys let people know how they can connect with you? We'll start with Atticus.
Yeah, LinkedIn's probably the best way to find me. I have not yet developed my AI agents to take on all of the day-to-day of Instagram and X, etc. So yeah, LinkedIn is usually the best place to find me. But if you're interested in pad split or becoming a property owner host who wants to double your income, just go to padsplit.com/hosts.
Fantastic. Nathan.
Yeah, you can also find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Nathan Miller, sort of a common name. So put Rentech Direct after it. It'll definitely come up. If you want to learn a little about me or our company, it's rentechdirect.com. It's interesting we talk so much about co-living because there's a lot of co-living operators that use Rentech Direct. So it works really good for that, as well as the rest of the rental industry. So that's it. Thanks.
Very good. DeMarcus.
Thanks. You can find me LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at DeMarcus Mabry, just like it's spelled here. If you're looking to close your first wholesale deal, learn more about off-market real estate, learn more about creative finance, I post a lot of material about that. So feel free to add me on whatever platform at DeMarcus Mabry, shoot me a DM. Let's start a conversation. I'm always open to chatting and helping investors throughout their journey.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Again, I'm your host, James Brown. Feel free to connect with me by going to, Linktree/partner with James Brown. And if you want help on your investing journey, you're starting out or want to learn more, kind of my specialties are rent to own and co-living and syndications, buying apartment buildings. Feel free to go to my website, jamesbrownrealestate.com/coaching. Also, huge thanks to our founder and producer behind the scenes, Antonio Holman with United States Real Estate Investor. Follow and subscribe to This Month in Real Estate Investing at thismonthinrealestateinvesting.com or go to your favorite podcast app. And if you run across any interesting news, events, or have suggestions for expert guests like we had today, feel free to share them by emailing Antonio at UnitedStatesRealEstateInvestor.com. And remember, when one door closes, another door opens to financial freedom. Thanks, guys.